everybody. This is Clan Brandolorian. This is the first episode of the podcast we're doing here. I'm the Brandolorian, and of course with my co-host, my co-pilot, Bailey. How you doing tonight, bro?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, bro. This has been long awaited. Good to have you on finally.
Good to be here.
Yes, sir. But just kind of going into this podcast will pretty much be everything Star Wars. We may talk about other movies, other shows, but pretty much how it ties into Star Wars. So that will be the main focus of this podcast going on out. We're going to talk theory. We're going to talk lore. We're going to talk Funkos, Legos, and pretty much everything nerdy in between in the Star Wars universe. So getting into that, Bailey, let us and our viewers know, what are some of your favorite Star Wars moments, just starting off super basic.
Well, super basic. Obviously, I'm going to have to go with the basic, Revenge of the Sith, just that whole movie. That's the first Star Wars movie I remember watching. The duel on Mustafar. I mean, it just doesn't get more iconic than that. This one may be a little unpopular just because it's so new, is Rogue One. That movie gets a lot of hate for some reason, and I just think all of it's fantastic. I watched it twice in theaters the weekend it came out. That one's one of my favorites.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then, then it's just hard to beat the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Yeah, especially with Andor out now, a lot of people are either love Andor or you hate it, but then I also feel like there's that in between where it's like, yeah, it's good. It's just not what we're used to in the Star Wars universe. And I kind of fall in that in between line. I like it, but I don't hate it by any means. But it's not my favorite, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. I think it's not my favorite either. I think it's a good show, but like you said, it's a Star Wars show, but it doesn't really feel like Star Wars. You get the gritty and the dark, and I mean, these are our heroes and our good guys, but I mean, you see them do things that are more on the morally ambiguous side than you would see Luke doing in the original trilogy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love the character of Cassian Andor just because it's, like you said, it's gritty and it's, it shows a whole different side of a character. And, not to spoil anything for those watching, but, Cassian is building the thing that ultimately destroys him. We see when he's in the like jail prison scenes, he's helping build pieces to the Death Star. And ultimately that's what takes him out in Rogue One.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really cool when they threw that in there at the end because I saw all the things and I kind of thought that it was pieces of the wings of the TIE fighters. That's what
Yeah,
I
see
saw. That's what I
that
thought it was.
that would have been cool too. Pretty much anything Empire-esque with Andor, because it really shows how dark and gritty the Empire actually is. Because, I mean, original trilogy, Palpatine's a bad guy. He's like the supreme evil. And then you get Darth Vader, obviously, who's the kind of the fan favorite of the quote-unquote dark side. And you don't really see anything too deep into what those characters are other than, you know, them being evil. As in Andor, you really get to see how evil and how, nasty the Empire actually is.
Absolutely. They give you some depth to that there.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Well, starting off basic, we kind of just dove deep. Me and Bailey have been friends for almost, 2 years now?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And, Star Wars is something that obviously brings tons of fans together. And that's, some of the beginning pieces of our friendship was Star Wars. So it's,
Yeah, it was.
really easy. Star Wars is fun. Some people love it, some people hate it. Obviously, we love it. So it's stuff we can easily nerd on and just talk about, get lost in it. But obviously, you started off with some of your favorite Star Wars moments and favorite movie, of course, Revenge of the Sith, which is my favorite as well. It has to be. But jumping in, what is your favorite Funko that you either have or don't have?
I'm not the Funko professional like they can see in the background. I'm gonna get that collection going pretty soon. It's really hard to choose my favorite I've got right now. The big one in the acrylic case, the A New Hope poster
Yes.
one. That one's really high. But I kind of have to give the nod right now to the smaller one, also in the acrylic case. That's the comic poster, Luke.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I love that one a lot. That one's very cool.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
gonna be my favorite right now.
you got that one, and I got the comic cover Boba Fett. So we got the
Yeah,
match right
yeah,
there. So
yeah. I
yeah,
need that one.
yes. Personally, my favorite is I want a Kit Fisto very bad. I
I
need it.
do.
I
Yeah,
need to have that in a collection. But if I was to have a favorite, it's probably the cracked Vader that just released finally. That one's really badass.
yeah.
But to be honest, I think my Chase Cobb Vanth with Boba's armor, no helmet, is too fire.
Yes.
I, Silver Fox of the Galaxy is killing it. Gotta love Cobb Vanth.
For real,
But
that one's awesome.
yes, but we did talk your favorite Lego. Go ahead and show everyone what your favorite Lego is.
This is the General Grievous Starfighter. They've made 4 or 5 different variants. This is the one from the Clone Wars, and this comes with Grievous, obviously, his operating chair, um, his repair droid, who's got a name and I can't remember it, and Kit Fisto's Padawan.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Mon Calamari.
yeah. I just looked up his name, but
We'll have to insert it later or have someone help us out with that because I'm
Nadar.
blanking
It's
on his.
Nadar. It's Nadar.
There we go. Okay.
But yeah, this one's my favorite. I bought a couple retired sets off of eBay, and this is the first one I did, and this one is probably my favorite one out of all of them I have.
Yeah, that one was really cool. I remember when he bought that one because what was it like retailed at like 70, but then it kept going up on the bids, so you just put 100 and that's where it stopped or
Yeah,
something like that.
something like that. Yeah, and then it got lost for like 3 days in the mail, and I didn't think I was gonna get it.
Yeah, yeah. Manhattan college towns and their delivery schemes. I don't get it.
Yeah, but we got it, and that's all that matters. Got it now.
Yep, absolutely. All built and ready to go. Man, with me and Legos, there's so many, and you know me, I'll if it's Star Wars and it's a Lego set, no matter how ugly it is, I'm gonna probably get it because
Yeah,
it's gonna go on sale because obviously people aren't buying it, so I really can pick up some just to add more space to the shelves. But I think I'd have to go with my R2D2 up here, and I know that they are building, or there's gonna be another R2D2 coming out, and it's $100. It's smaller
yeah.
than the $200 UCS one up there, but I mean, at $100, you might have to pick it up.
I'm gonna pick
Especially,
that one up for sure.
it comes with the Darth Malik minifig.
Yeah, I think all the ones going to be coming out with the minifigs, I'm gonna have to snag.
Yeah,
Just the sets are awesome by themselves, but I need the minifigs too.
yeah, and Tantive, the Tantive diorama set that we're getting with Darth Vader and some of the Rebel troopers and a couple stormtroopers as well. Fives is going to be like the exclusive 25 year anniversary minifig, just like and also it's not Darth Malik, it's
Is
Bane.
it Darth Revan? Oh, yeah,
Bane.
yeah.
I don't know why I said uh Malik, but no, it's um Darth Bane. So that's gonna be kind of cool.
Yeah, that will be cool.
But I mean, next year it seems like all the Legos we're getting are pretty cool and a lot to look forward to. And they're all pretty cheap. I mean, the Invisible Hand, the Tantive, and the Millennium Falcon MIDI scales are all coming out, and those are all going to be pretty dope because they all come with the stands. Like you have the Executor already, the Super Star
Yep,
Destroyer, like that. That's something I got to get for Christmas, hopefully. But
that's a great set.
those are all the MIDI scales are taking over the helmet lines because there's no more helmets as of right now.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the helmets too. The only helmet I don't have is the Dark Trooper.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
the only helmet I don't have.
Yeah, I need the ones I don't have is the TIE Pilot, obviously, and that's freaking 350 on StockX right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, those are
Um,
insane.
Dark Trooper, which that went on sale for like $40 at Target recently. Still didn't pick it up,
Yeah, I didn't
and
either.
I still need Captain Rex, but that's $56 on sale now um, at Walmart.
The Rex and Cody were great helmets. I liked those both a lot. And the Leia one too. I didn't think it was. until you
Oh yeah.
talked me into it. But no, that's a great set.
Yeah, dude, that set actually the build is really dope because it's like two pieces. You build the mouth and it slides onto the yellow Technic pieces.
Yeah,
That was a really good build.
no, that was a good build. I like that one a lot.
Well, after getting into a little introduction of what we're gonna kind of do on the podcast, that was just like a little rundown. But as we get everyone introduced to Bailey and welcoming him to the channel, we're really gonna dive into some stuff now. And here is some new news that actually dropped today as of November 21st, 2023. And that is Dave Filoni stepping up in Lucasfilm. Bailey, what are your biggest takeaways from that?
The biggest takeaways is I think they're recognizing uh, what he's done with Ahsoka and the Mandalorian, and they're realizing how much bigger they are and how much better they're being received than the movies that he didn't have a whole lot of to do with, like the sequels and Rogue One. These are just so much bigger, and he's doing a lot of stuff that the fans really, really love because
Oh
he
yeah.
understands them because he is one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ultimately, that's a really good point because, as we've always discussed, like George has his apprentice and it is Dave, and it's cool how his story, came on. He actually got to call and was able to go sit down in a room with George Lucas. Is kind of like it looked like the last dinner from what I know. Like it was just a long group of people, and Dave was like actually sitting there, like, man, like I'm in the bunch now. And I mean, that's really good for Dave because obviously, like we were talking earlier, John Favreau can really write you a story and he can paint a picture with two colors. As Dave Filoni knows George's vision and thinks he doesn't think for himself basically, but he's like, what would George do? And like, how would George, you know, paint this picture and how can I go off of that? So pretty much anything Dave Filoni thinks about, obviously it stems from George and what he created, not more so like what would George do in this situation, like in writing or in directing, but more so like what would his characters react to this situation, or how would they go about this situation, which is really cool. Like we're actually very, very lucky that there is a person like Dave Filoni, especially in this weird Disney era where everything kind of has to be a certain way for it to get passed through, and it kind of deteriorates Star Wars and splits the fandom as it is right now, and a lot of people don't realize that.
No, you're 100% right on that. I just he just the Disney execs, they know Star Wars, but they don't understand it. Is kind of the best way I can say it. But George understands it, or Dave understands it, and he knows, what should be done.
Yeah. See,
Because
and that's a
there's a
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say they have a couple things that he's done that I don't agree with a little bit, or weird me out a little bit. But I mean, 99.9% of everything I have no issues with. Like Ahsoka, especially, I think that was absolutely flawless. I had no problems with that at all.
Yeah. And see, like, especially, with Ahsoka, it had mixed reviews literally right from the gate, because what's not going to have mixed reviews?
Absolutely.
We're in a day and age where people just think it's cool to hate something. Like, okay, whatever gets you tweeting, whatever gets you posting stuff on the internet, that's cool. Like that's feedback itself for, the execs you're talking about. But you kind of have to sit and look, like Dave created a character and plugged it into George's universe, and it fits, like it works. Like if we were to never get Clone Wars, like we would never know who, you know, like some other problems Anakin went through. Like the voice actor of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars was actually talking at Celebration saying like the Clone Wars makes Revenge of the Sith even more like emotional, and like
Absolutely, it
there's more
does.
impact because you're kind of riding with Anakin and like rooting for him during the Clone Wars. As in Episode 3, you're more so like Anakin, like what are you doing? So, it's all point of view and how you, take the content. And I think, I mean, with what Dave's doing, especially with a character like Ahsoka, like it's very hard to hate Ahsoka. I think the with Rosario Dawson playing her and giving her her live action character, I think a lot of people were very used to Ashley Eckstein and her voice acting, and
Yes, yes,
we're
definitely.
really expecting Ahsoka's live action character to be 100%. But if you think about it, like like the first half of Ahsoka, season one is more so like Ahsoka the Gray, quote unquote. And
Yeah,
after she gets that final lesson from Anakin, she turns, Ahsoka the White, and she's very wise, and she's, basically she's OP now. Like you're just not beating Ahsoka. But I mean, Dave making a character like that and plugging it into George's story, like George's life, and it works. Like, please keep this guy. He's a vital piece to anything Star Wars related, present day.
absolutely is. I don't think they should do much of anything in the Star Wars universe now. I don't care if it's releasing a Star Wars coloring book
Yeah,
without him having input on it. I think he's that important.
yeah. I mean, he is, man. It's the Ahsoka, especially. I always bring this up is the beginning scroll, like the red text right at the beginning of episode one, like that was
Yeah.
so George Lucas. Like you couldn't tell me that wasn't inspired by George Lucas. And me, I'm a horror fan too, and Star Wars, like for Star Wars to be actually like scary, like Darth Vader hallway scene Rogue One, like yeah, that's scary, but it's more badass.
Yeah.
But Ahsoka, like there, like some of the music, the undead stormtroopers, the
Yes. Yes.
like, come on, dude, and the Night Sisters, like they're actually like witches, like scary.
Yeah, that was actually scary. It
Yeah,
was
like
cool.
it works, and that's all Dave Filoni. You know what I'm saying? It's a new. If we're gonna talk a new Star Wars, that's definitely the best approach that you could ever ask for. And like I said, it all stems from Dave Filoni, and I applaud him. He's gonna have to stick around for the long run.
I think him and Favreau together, especially because he's like we were talking about before we started, is such a great writer.
Hmm.
I think we keep this combo together. I think we're gonna have great content for years and years and years to come.
Oh yeah, I mean they already got their industry plant, if you want to call it, in Grogu. I mean, he's making Disney millions of dollars. There's people who have no idea what Star Wars is, but their kids are wearing Grogu shirts. Cool,
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
how smart, But what makes it even better is it's actually a really good character. It's a well written character. And I mean, that's just even stemming into um the main reason why we're getting characters like Ahsoka in live action is because of characters such as Din Djarin and Din Grogu. Is the Mando? It's called the Mando-verse for a reason, because it all stems from the Mandalorian and stuff like that. But speaking about the Mandalorian, what are some things you expect in season 4 when we get that?
Well, at the end of Boba Fett, uh, I think it's a mid-credit scene, we see Cobb Vanth in the bacta tank at Boba's palace. So I expect, and he's a big actor too, the guy who plays Cobb Vanth. I would expect
Yeah,
him to start playing a bigger part in prepping for the movie. I'd I'd expect to see Boba Fett some more too,
yeah,
because
have to.
because my bet is he's going to be in the movie, and I think he's going to die in the movie,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I'm sitting on that too.
Yeah,
There's
so
yeah,
I just think we're going to get more. We're probably going to get Ezra too. Before I forget about him, I think we're going to start seeing some of the Ghost crew show
yeah,
up, because I think this next episode is going to lead us into season 2 of Ahsoka, and season 2 of Ahsoka is going to take us right into Filoni's Mando-verse movie.
yeah. Especially with him getting, like, what? Imagine, in like recent weeks, he's actually getting the plot and everything written for Ahsoka season 2. kind of pitched it to the executives at Disney. Word gets to Kathleen Kennedy, maybe even up to Bob Iger if we're going to go that far. And maybe they're like, wow, that's going to lead into this movie of the Mando-verse movie, potentially Heir to the Empire movie. Like imagine him pitching that idea and they're like, oh dude, yeah, you're promoted today.
Yeah.
Like maybe like that is something to even think about too. Like, people get, promotions all the time, no matter what they do, for their career. But like for Dave to get it now, like all of a sudden, I think he really cooked a script for Ahsoka season 2, even just an idea, because nothing's even like really began yet. It was just kind of like what I've seen on Twitter is that he said, he's just going to pull, the strings he can and play his part and hope and just pretty much help everyone else out around him to create a good story. So, I mean, obviously that's his number one goal, but I really think he has a insane idea for the ending of Ahsoka leading into the movie, which is going to be nuts. Like, there's no way it's going to be like, I don't even think there's really going to be a cliffhanger. I think it's literally just going to be like this, like it ends and we know exactly what's going to happen, like in the first 2 minutes of the Heir to the Empire movie or whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen too. And I also think part of his promotion stems from just the fact that I think the the sequels were kind of panned, and I don't want to be the Star Wars fan that, says, "Yeah, I think these suck." But I haven't seen the last two of the sequels since I watched them in theaters. And I think what he's doing now, starting with Mando, I think kind of revived Star Wars as a brand. I think it was, you know, down in the ditch
Yeah.
after the last of the sequels, because they were just, I mean, somehow Palpatine returned. I mean, the writers weren't communicating between the movies, and it just kind of got shoved, and they panicked when they killed Snoke. So now Palpatine's back,
Yep.
because that was all they could come up with, because they released the release dates for these movies years in advance. So there's already a time crunch. So I think that's what happened with that. And I think Filoni kind of is going through now and fixing the rushed in the quickly pushed through production sequel movies.
Oh yeah. And see, like Ryan Johnson and like JJ Abrams, like, they're definitely, directors of the decade. Like whether anyone agrees with that or not is just kind of a fact. They got, greenlit to make the continuation of Star Wars. Like who gets that opportunity? Like if you were to give it to me and like, hey, write me 3 movies, I promise you mine would be a million times worse.
Oh,
Like there's just no chance. But I think, look at like George wanted to, explore like other territories, but George didn't even take us to a different galaxy. And Filoni did that in 4 episodes of
yeah,
his first season of a show that he created. So I think that is like pretty much his. Let's put the sequels to the side because we're going to focus about what happens 19 years before The Force Awakens. We're going to talk about the Mando-verse for a while, and then maybe we'll touch into the sequels, because there's old people, like, sorry for anyone that's born in the 60s or 70s watching, but the original trilogy was theirs. Like that's what they grew up on. And I know a lot of those original trilogy fans that hate the prequels. And to me, it's just like, how, man, it's so good because that's what we
those
grew
are
up
our
on.
movies. Yeah,
And obviously we're going to like the original trilogy because, that's the precursor. That's what started it all. But even, there's kids like around my brother's age and that, love the sequels. They love Kylo Ren, which, that's an awesome character.
a
It
great
just
character. Yeah.
didn't really pan out well. And, stuff like that, like Poe Dameron. Like Poe Dameron's probably top 2 sequel character for me anyways. I love Poe Dameron. He's tight.
Oh, definitely, he's a great character.
But I mean, there's so many things like Filoni, like everyone's like, "Oh, we need Filoni to do this and that," but like that dude has a lot on his plate. He's basically George Lucas 2.0, like we said. He has to keep that going. But is there anything that you want to add to anything that we could see in Mando season 4 or anything in the Mando-verse?
Other than, I don't know what else to expect. I don't know. I'm guessing Thrawn's going to be in the background of this thing, and I don't know if they're going to be kind of assembling all these different characters in this season. You know, all the Mandalorians, the Ghost Crew, some of these guys, and at the end they're going to head off to fight Thrawn. I don't know, or maybe they could do something completely different, and at the end, Hera shows up and is asking them to help. I don't know. I would assume my first option is what's likely to happen, but with Dave Filoni, you just never know,
Yeah.
and I'd be happy with either way.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. Something I really do want to see though, since we're kind of like in the ballpark, is season 2 of Ahsoka. Jason could hear Ahsoka and Anakin in the world between worlds,
Oh yeah.
and I think that's really cool. But something that would be even better is if Jason still has some of those, very force sensitive feelings and recognition of his surroundings like that. I think it'd be really cool if we got Kanan as his force voice pretty much come through and like talk to Jason and kind of guide him up. And with especially when Jason went with Hu Yang into the T6 and was like, "Can you help me build a lightsaber?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Can you train me to be a Jedi?" And he's like, "No." Like I feel like that was pretty much a big yes for the future. So I think Jason is actually going to follow those steps, and and I've heard rumors, just to kind of take a right turn, is that Luke actually gets Jason at his Jedi Academy, and when Kylo Ren destroys it, like he does in The Last Jedi, that Jason was actually one of the victims, or
Oh
which
wow.
this is crazy, Jason is a Knight of Ren, which no, like
No.
Ben Solo like murked them all in like 2 seconds. So obviously, no, Jason, no chance. But what would be cool is like if he like was at Luke's Jedi Academy but escaped, and now he's just kind of like a rogue, like Boken Jedi that has like half training, like nowhere close to being finished. Like I think that would be pretty cool because I think he's going to be a big character, especially with Kanan being gone. We haven't seen him like he's been mentioned in Ahsoka, but that's pretty much it. So I think Jason is gonna have a bigger role, maybe not against Thrawn in like the main point, but to have a bigger presence for his potential, if that makes sense.
That wouldn't surprise me. Definitely down the line. I don't, yeah, like I said, like you said, I don't think right now he's going to be out there doing Star. And I don't think they're going to bring Kanan back just because
No.
that voice actor says that he feels like it makes his character less meaningful every time
Right.
they bring him up. And I don't even think he liked it when they brought him up in Bad Batch.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think that would be cool. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. See, and there's so much possibilities, and especially that Freddie Prince, the guy who voices Kanan, like that dude, like just going in. Like I don't know if someone like paid him to be like, dude, just go on there and just like expose like what's going on. And he's just talking about, like there's no gray Jedi. Like stop calling Ahsoka that. Uh, like the Force is what it is. George Lucas made the Force, and that's just what I learned. So what you tell me is not a thing because what I know is real. And it's like, dude, if a lot more fans were like that and like understood the story more, really don't think there'd be a huge divide like there is now. But like he was just spitting facts.
Yeah, I remember watching that interview when it came out.
It's just
Yeah.
like, man. But kind of out of the Mando verse, we might take a step back to the night of Order 66. do you think we will see more Keller and Beck in Mando season 4?
I'd like to think so. It being the Jar Jar Binks actor, it was really great for him to get all the love and appreciation after Jar Jar was, roasted through the floor
Oh yeah.
when Phantom Menace came out. Uh, the way that scene ends, uh, they're on a landing platform, and it's a Naboo starship, kind of like Padme's,
Oh yeah.
and that's just how it ends. And I remember when that came out, I texted you. I thought we were going to see him more during that season to see what happened between him getting out of the temple and Mando finding him. So I would assume we're going to see more of him. I think it's going to be a flashback, and I think he's going to get killed when Grogu's taken by these pirates or whoever that's held on to him for so many years. I don't see him going much farther than that, but I do think we will see him again.
Yeah. See, and I like that too because Ahmad Best, obviously with everything with Jar Jar. Um, but talking about that landing platform on Coruscant, it is a Naboo star like like starship. So like Padme's, maybe they are actually going to Naboo. Like that's where um, Keller and Beck takes Grogu is to Naboo. And what would be really cool if we get to touch base on what happened after that, because they jump into hyperspace, maybe they hit Naboo really quick and they get there and they actually meet with Jar Jar. So it's like Keller and Beck, Ahmad Best, like human, is like talking to Jar Jar and actually gives like Grogu him, closes his pram, takes him down to Gungan City, and they keep him there for a while. Maybe something goes down, and since Palpatine's from Naboo, maybe he goes there and like sends a battalion of people to try to find Grogu. Like he knows what's going on. Like I think that would be a cool touch, and maybe just to get maybe that's it's far fetched because pretty much anything I've ever said, theory wise, it's nowhere close to being true because I always thought it was Quinlan Voss, but that's what I wanted. But until Keller and Beck was introduced, I was like, okay, that makes more sense and it's better realistically. But it's all about being right and trying to guess right. I mean, try to do that every day. Try to guess what's happening all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
Mine are never right either. You know that.
yeah, and yeah. I just think especially with Star Wars now, that's what makes it fun is trying to understand what's next, but without trying to be like, oh, like pretty much, cut it into what it really is. Because if you sit there and you're like, I'm going to enjoy this show for what it is, and I'm just going to, take it all in and then dissect it later instead of, watching it and being like, I'm dissecting it as I'm watching it, trying to make the most sense out of it. Like, I feel like that is where nitpicking starts. And you're just like, man, I don't like this because it's not something what I expected. And Keller and Beck was definitely something no one expected, like in a
Oh,
million
absolutely.
years. But I don't know. I think it's a cool character. I don't see anything wrong with him or the way they put it. So,
No, I think that was a great choice. I think that was the right choice.
but yeah, so kind of stepping out of the Mando-verse, we'll kind of go into a last segment here. Try to really pull in all of the fans who may be watching this first episode, and let's dive into what are we gonna expect in Skeleton Crew. What do you think we're gonna see, bro?
I wouldn't be actually. Do we know how long this is after Order 66? Because I'm sure I read it, but I can't remember.
So these kids it's actually supposed to take place during the Mando-verse.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be around 5 to 7 years after Return of the Jedi. But the character we get, like the main character, Jude Law's character, is supposed to be like a Jedi, one of the surviving Order 66 Jedi that stumbles across 3 or 4 kids that are, lost from where they're supposed to be, like their side of the galaxy. I don't know if they're in the same sector or not, but it seems like they're out in the unknown region. And what I think would be really cool is if they are actually shot out into the unknown regions and actually come across a planet with Chiss, like pretty much
Ooh,
Thrawn's people, and they're out there. Obviously, could be a huge no, depending where they're at. And maybe that's kind of how they kind of get tied into into like the Mandalorian and Ahsoka, because I guess from everything I've read, the Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, and Ahsoka are all coming together, and Skeleton Crew are all coming together and making up the Mando-verse. And those are pretty much, each show has their big character that all comes together and like basically ties it in.
okay. I wasn't sure because I thought maybe I'd seen an article where it was not too long after Order 66. But if it's taking place like this, it wouldn't surprise me, and it's something I'd like to see as well. The path for hiding Jedi that we see a little bit of in Kenobi, I wonder if we get a little piece of that, and that might give us the live action Quinlan Voss I know you'd love to see.
Need that, dude.
And kind of a left turn here, I kind of think we might see an older Cal Kestis show up in this somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be in the Skeleton Crew or in Mando, but I think he's going to show up in live action.
Do you know when the final game comes out? Because it's like a trilogy, like Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, and then there's going to be one more, and that's going to like complete the series.
I haven't seen anything on it. This newest game's been out 6 or 8 months,
Since March.
somewhere, yeah, I thought it was somewhere around there. So I guess 2 or 3 years if they're trying to fit him into this live action. But this also is taking place during the reign of the Empire. That game is. So he'd have to be significantly older. And I don't know for sure that obviously if they're going to throw him in there, but they've got an actual, actor playing Cal Kestis in these games. So it would be completely feasible to say, okay, we're going to throw you in this movie now too. You're such a popular character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cameron Monaghan, I think is how you say his last name. He was actually the first time I've seen him, and really the only thing I've seen him in is Shameless. I don't know if you've ever watched that on Netflix.
Yeah, I've seen part of it, and he did some kind of Batman kind of show too that I've seen clips of on like TikTok or
Oh
something.
yes, that is
And
right.
he plays like the Joker or something.
Yep.
And he's done a couple other things I've seen too, but so that's kind of why I'm thinking he could get thrown into live action.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I feel like he's gonna hit live action literally like once production, even for the final game, is over. I feel like he's gonna start getting calls for future Star Wars projects, and especially Dave and even Kathleen Kennedy, they're gonna take the jump on that opportunity when it's there, because he's a good video game actor. Because like that's hard, like
Oh yeah,
that's you're in a ghillie suit all day with spots all over your body
and the green screens,
and
absolutely. Yeah,
and
that's
you
got
have
to be
to
difficult.
keep getting it, like that's very repetitive work. And yeah, so him acting in a Star Wars show or movie would definitely be something super um in his ballpark. Like it wouldn't be anything hard for him, because especially doing the video game for since 2019 at least, he'll be a good role, especially for a live action Cal Kestis, which will be tight.
Yeah, that would be really cool to see that. I hope they do that.
But we do know that in the Skeleton Crew, Vane will be a antagonist from Mando season 3 episode 1. He was one of the Niktos. I believe he was a Nikto. He was part of the pirate gang, and he's the minifig with the snub fighter Lego.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, he
That'll be
when
cool.
when he veers off from Gorian Shard, like the mossy character, like the
Hmm,
pirate,
hmm.
when he takes off in his ship, like he's like the only one. So he'll probably get a group of pirates, and hopefully, I think Skeleton Crew, we're gonna see Hondo live action.
Oh yeah, I forgot to even mention that. Yes, I would absolutely love that.
And
Just
there's rumors of the actor that played Steve Urkel back in Family Matters is playing Hondo.
that'd be really cool. I'd like to see that. My thing with him, as like it was with Thrawn, was I'd like him to keep the voice actor the same because that's just one of the few things where I think the voice is iconic. You know,
Yeah,
obviously more so with Thrawn because his voice just in and of itself is imposing and scary. So
yeah,
it wouldn't be as big of a deal with Hondo, but I'm a big Clone Wars fan, as you know.
yeah,
It would just, I that's what I would like, but it's not going to break my heart either way.
yeah. Yeah, see, and it's just like these little things we talk about. There's so much opportunity, and it's like there all day. It's just it's there's so many like there's people that are thinking of Star Wars ideas that we would never think about ever in our life, and if we
No,
knew about
absolutely.
it, we'd be like, holy, like that would be tight. But I mean, if I think Disney is starting to make the climb, I think Ahsoka, because if you look back at the year we've had we've had I'd say decent Legos drop this year. The Funkos started off super rough. Now they're picking back up again. And if we look at shows, we're getting, Mando season 3 was very, very hyped up, and then it was just kind of like there's a lot of
Yeah.
good things, but there was like actually a lot of flawed things too. Because it's like, what are we doing? I tried to find the light and everything, but after rewatching it, I'm like, yeah, no, there are some really weird things. But I think I gave it a 7 out of 10 for the whole season. Seeing Mandalore was great. That had to happen, but Ahsoka literally brought Mando season 3 out of the ground. That Mando season 3 fell big time. Feel like after the third episode, it just started going downhill, and then it seemed
Yeah.
like they had no idea what to do with Moff Gideon, and shoved him out the picture, and he might not be dead. So you never know with that. And Ahsoka definitely, it's Ahsoka for me is a 9 out of 10. I feel like I just can't give it a 10 out of 10 because there's just a couple things where I was like, no. But at first, I didn't even like the Sabine having the Force thing because I mean, even we talked about that way
Yes, we did.
when the
Yes, we did.
trailers were coming out, and we're just like, yeah, there's no chance. So we didn't even get strung up on that. But then she ends up having it, and then when you kind of think about it and put it all together, she's a descendant of Tar Vizsla, who was the first Mandalorian Jedi. House Wren. She's a warrior. I mean, okay, okay,
Yeah. My only issue with her having the force powers was we went from her barely being able to pull the lightsaber to her hand to force pushing Ezra 100 feet onto the Star Destroyer.
yeah,
But I mean, other than that, I mean, the first two episodes were a little slow, but we're starting off a new show, so
oh
I
yeah,
I I can't knock it for that. But I, other than starting the story, I really didn't think there was any real filler like there was in Mando season 3. That one planet with Jack Black and Lizzo with the crazy battle droids. I mean, it was cool to see Jack Black, and we get to see live action droids for the first time since 2005. So that's
yeah,
cool. I appreciate that. But I mean, that episode just wasn't really necessary.
yeah. And we got Christopher Lloyd, and he was just like an
Yeah,
old
that's right. That's right.
delusional, like he's kind of like not like a jail like, or a code breaker, but kind of like he was just like hiding the basically the protection of the battle droids and like what they were actually going to use them for. And that was just kind of like a random like little like side syndicate thing, which was weird. Like writing once again in that season was just kind of, I don't know, but I don't like, that's what I was telling, the people on the Explore the Force podcast. Like they bring these characters in, but like Jack Black, like I can't not think that's not Nacho Libre or
Yeah,
Tenacious D, and it's like I love it. Like it's cool that he's in the universe, but no.
no, you're right. I mean, it bring back like you give like the voice actors from the cartoons or just or cast members, stuff in the show, sure. But like you're saying, I mean, I see Nacho Libre, I see the guy from Tropic Thunder, I see Doc Brown.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just and it just kind of in my opinion, it's kind of it takes away from your immersion into that world a little bit because every time you see him, it's like, hey, that's Doc Brown. What are you
hmm
doing here?
yeah, and especially with that, like it seems it's not them getting these iconic actors that makes it cheap, but if you get what I'm saying, it feels cheap because it's like, oh, we can put this guy in and it'll be fine. Like nothing to worry about. But in it's like Lizzo, like we've talked about Lizzo, but like what like what was her character?
Jack Black's husband or wife.
Yeah, and it's like okay, cool, and like he was like he was
He's
an
like the
ex
governor or
imperial.
something.
Yeah, he was the governor of like that little like village thing, but he was like ex imperial, and I think he had like his mind wiped or something, or like he has some trauma from it. So he's just kind of like, oh, I need to be really good guy and like watch over for these people. But I mean that's kind of cool, like ex imperial, but no.
Well, the problem, like it being Doc Brown is just it kind of feels like these guys called Disney and were like, we're really big fans. We want to be in the show, and they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. And now, if they put him like they did a lot of stuff with this in the sequel trilogy, they had the guy who played Venom, Tom Hardy, the guy who
Mm,
played James Bond, Daniel Craig. They threw them in like Stormtrooper. Now you can hear their voice
yeah,
in these roles, sure, but like, and if they threw Jack Black and Lizzo and Doc Brown in like tentacles and paint and made them aliens, then we can hear their voice and be like, oh, that's Jack Black, cool.
yeah.
But just
It'd
that
be more fun too if they
it would
did it
be
that
more
way.
fun. But just it being them in a costume, it's Jack Black.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Also, I think Ed Sheeran was a stormtrooper as well, a First
There
Order
were a
stormtrooper.
bunch. There were a bunch of cameos, and those are just the two I can remember off the top of my head.
Yeah,
But
I remembered Hardy too. Yeah,
you can just hear their voices, or maybe you can kind of recognize them under all the makeup and stuff. So
yeah,
it just doesn't take away from your immersion into the story like it does it just being them in a costume, in my opinion at least.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I agree too. It's just if Disney can keep doing things like, I mean, let's take a step back actually. So if Disney was to kind of like look at these things and be like, we got actors such as this guy and then this and actresses like this girl and they bring him in, you kind of have to see like the outlook and like you have to think of what fans would think of how these characters are portrayed. Like I know at first they're like, okay, Jack Black, Lizzo, Christopher Lloyd, cool. But obviously it didn't pan out really the way, like there's going to be people out there who like it, but for the most part not a lot of people really cared for it too much. But there's like someone who's a fan of Star Wars and was like put into Star Wars is actually Bill Burr. He plays Miggs Mayfield in Mando season 2. He was the guy that he was bald, had a beard, ginger, and he had like the gun that like poked up and like pointed out over his chest. And it was like
Yep.
when they were trying to get the Twi'lek brother out of the jail, and Mando was helping them, and they like turned on him. But basically, Miggs gets put in jail, and then Cara Dune gets him out of jail. And then they have that one episode where Din Djarin puts on the man, I can't remember what trooper those are, but he puts on that other trooper's suit, like the armor.
The transport troopers or something like that, I think.
Yeah. And then they go into that like Imperial base, and then they talk to that one guy, and then Bill Burr's character ends up just like blowing the whole place up. Like, he is a fan, but a phenomenal actor, great comedian as well. Like, he's very raunchy in his comedy, but he's different because he's a great actor as well. He's also was a fan of Breaking Bad, and he's actually in Breaking Bad, and his character played a huge role, especially like towards the end of like season 5. So, like, if we're to compare like Jack Black or like Bill Burr, like, give me Bill Burr's character, only because like his character actually had a purpose and
was serious, and
yeah,
wasn't in there for the point of being a cameo. It felt like he had, like you said, a big part and a meaningful part, and they gave his character some depth when he executes that former officer of his.
yeah,
That was a really great scene when they did that.
yes,
They gave him depth and meaning. They just don't, when they're sticking Jack Black in there, like you said.
yeah. And I mean, Jack Black could play a serious role. It's just we haven't seen that. But I mean, we'll see what Disney does. They're going to do their thing regardless, whether we like it or not, unfortunately. Well, that is kind of the first episode, guys, just to kind of introduce. This is a precursor to something Bailey and I will continue to do on the channel here. We'll try to get one maybe once a week, or at most we'll get one every other week, get one out and posted, get one out recorded. And we're probably going to look to start having some guests on here soon, but we're just kind of swimming in the waters right now, seeing what we can do. But if there are any questions or anything that you guys want us to talk about, DM me on Instagram. You can email me at Brandolorian66@gmail. And of course, my Instagram is at Brandolorian66. It's all simple. You can find us there. Bailey's also tagged on the profile as well, and he'll be using his page a lot more. So you guys go give him a follow too. Bailey, is there anything you want to tell our viewers here, or anything to expect from you for the future going into the podcast?
Well, just like you said, I'm really excited. I hope that you guys are gonna start sending him or me stuff that you'd like to talk about, because obviously this is something that we really like to talk about, and I'm really excited to do the next one and get other guests on, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think I'm hope that you guys come in for the next one.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, being Star Wars fans, it's obviously a passion that we have, and we love to talk about all the good things. We love to talk about all the bad things and everything in between. So it's not like we're here to bash on the prequels. We're not here to bash on the sequels. We're just here to talk about everything that we like and things that we don't like. Because if we liked everything that you guys liked, you guys probably wouldn't listen to us for more than 5 minutes. So there are some things that I can say right now that Bailey likes that I don't like, and then there's things that I like that Bailey doesn't like. And I think that's what's going to make this show interesting going down the line, is because we're going to get new shows, and maybe, first episode is like a banger to me, but Bailey sees things where it's just a no-go. So stuff like that will happen. And especially with getting more people on, more ideas, is going to be a lot more to talk about, essentially. But with that being the first episode, guys, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Make sure you share this. This is on all platforms. Video will be up on YouTube as well, and on Spotify. So if you guys want to share, follow, subscribe, the YouTube channel is Clan Brandolorian. You can find us there. But for now, we'll see you guys in the next episode. So may the Force be with all of you. Me, Brandolorian, I'm signing off. My boy Bailey, let everyone know that you're getting out of here.
We'll catch you boys next time.
All right. Everybody be cool. We'll see you next time.